As long ago as it might feel, it's strange to think of how Steven Universe finally came to a close back in 2020. I often get comments in my older videos about the show asking if my thoughts have changed about the characters or the themes of this show. And it might surprise you when I say that when watching the conclusion to Steven Universe Future unfold, it was somewhat surprising to think about how it resided in a realm that was unpredictable, yet one that could also be anticipated. I guess one of the strange things about this nebulous idea of the future is that while there is no way to fully predict it, understanding key places to look can give you a somewhat accurate picture of what's to come. And when you think about the conflicts of the original series and the ethos that define the ways the Crewniverse have made this show, it shouldn't be too surprising that this was the way that they would want to talk about the sort of trauma and pain that a protagonist like Steven would have to address and overcome in order to move forward. Even with that aside, it is hard to describe the feeling of having something so integral and vital to me finally being over. Though I gotta say, in a year where so many people began to rightfully take action against unjust authority within our world, it's strange to think back on a show that so many heavily criticized for its pacifist-leaning philosophies that were in play during its runtime. As someone who is in the fandom for a majority of the show's runtime, I have seen a lot of drama come out of this community, as well as so many beautiful things. Sometimes when you are in the midst of a narrative and a fandom, and looking back on a work of art that is still incomplete, it can be easy to get lost in the chaotic maelstrom that can define certain communities. I know that much of my contemplation on fandoms has been greatly influenced by this fact. But with the show now over and the dust beginning to settle on this fandom, as all fandoms will face in their own time, it will be fascinating to see what sort of lessons people take from the show now that it can be viewed in a complete context. And call me a fanboy, call me an optimist, but I don't think it can be denied that despite everything, this is a show that has helped make the world just a little bit better. And oddly enough, I know this because of the discourse I spent nearly 7 years wading through. Don't get me wrong, it was a pain in the ass to deal with sometimes. But the fact that such discussions helped introduce so many people to valuable knowledge about representation, political praxis, justice, and overcoming abuse, it makes me happy that this show provided many children an entry point into topics that will become only more relevant as time goes on. That said, if there is something else that can be said about how we look at this show, it's that these media discussions become the most valuable when they are used as a starting point to exploring more complex ideas and themes in the context of the real world. In other words, for the love of Garnet, please don't use media as your sole basis for your politics. Please read some actual theory and books about this. It's very important, you guys. As we view the show in hindsight, it'll be easier to see which bits of the show were more practical than others. But I know that Steven Universe will only continue to help future generations of people who watch it happily face whatever comes their way with a sense of empathy, understanding, and an uncompromising desire to make a change.